February 10th, 2020. Take roll call.
Bartelt.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Girth.
Here.
Royal is excused. Hudak.
Here.
Metz.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Millet.
Here.
Peschel.
Here. A lot of M's.
All right, any old business?
If I can, just real quickly, Amy, you'll notice that the minutes are not on here from the previous meeting because of the computer issue that the city has been having. We didn't have access to those. We'll have them on the next meeting. Obviously, we'll have 2 meeting minutes to approve, so.
And if there's any citizen statements, keep them to less than 5 minutes. Give your name and address. Turn off your cell phones.
Want to make some statements?
All right. Let's moving on to new business. Operation of the Menominee Park Children's Amusement Center.
Okay, so you guys received this in your packets for the amusement center. As some of you know, the carousel was removed this year, finally after a couple of years of not operating, and it was decided due to cost not to put it back up. So Chad and I have been working and will continue to work and bring forward soon kind of a plan that we can see that area, what will happen with that area. It's just grown very tired, and we really need to do something different with it and try to revamp that whole area. And that's part of with the beer gardens that we're doing too, is kind of just making that whole area nice area for events, or whatever we decide to do with it. We just find that the carousel was very, very old and needed a ton of repairs. So all we really have down there is the train and the water rides right now, and the little whip ride that's for 12 and under. So this year, until we can really come up with a good plan and bring it forward and have it approved and put it in the budget documents to move forward, we're looking at reducing the hours of opening to just Friday through Monday. We've looked very heavily at the hours and the days that we're open. Weekends continue to be very busy down there, but during the week it just is not. So we are looking at Friday through Monday, select Tuesdays for special events. Special events do very, very well. So we kind of went through all the special events from the last 2 years, and on those days, the revenue is doubled, if not tripled, on those days of that special events. And people really like those. We're able to find sponsors to make those free for the community to come down. We always have the jump houses. We have different entertainment. We do our Wild Wild West days, and we have pony rides for the kids. We do a Bubble Bonanza day. We have all kinds of bubble activities. So we have a lot of people who really like those events, and we'll continue those this year. And then bringing forward the new beer gardens, and that will also be in that area, and those will be on Wednesday evenings. So it would be Friday through Monday throughout the season from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and then we would look at the just special event days on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and those would be the hours this year. And hopefully with that, we'll be able to reduce the staff amount cost that we have, and really take a look at that area and figure out what we're going to do with it. So that is what we're proposing this year.
What is the significance of the Mondays being open versus the other days of the week? I mean, as far as if you're
It's a
thinking about
Thursday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so looking at numbers, surprisingly, sometimes a lot of businesses aren't open on Mondays because they're slow day. For us, it's the busiest of the weekdays.
Okay.
And we actually another thing we're doing on Mondays is we're going to do a thing called Mingle Mondays, and on Monday nights from 4 to 7, we're going to have different, nonprofits come down, groups come down. So just for example, I know Oshkosh United Soccer was interested in it. I have a whole list of people that I've been sending information out so that they can come down on Mondays nights from 4 to 7 and, set up a display. Maybe it's the hockey club, and they set up a display and some little demonstrations and stuff and get their club members down there to the facility. So that's another thing we're going to be doing on Mondays, and just bringing a new group of people each week down, hopefully, or as many of them we can get. So I just actually started last week. Now that we have access to email again, I started sending those emails out last week to see who would be interested in doing that on Monday nights. Okay. So, but of the weekdays, that is actually our busiest after Sunday, or after the weekend. So,
Thanks.
any other questions?
All right. To approve?
Second.
Bartelt.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Girth.
Aye.
Hudak.
Aye.
Metz.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Millet.
Aye.
Peschel.
Aye.
Motion passed 8-0.
All right, next up, the concession stand, it's Spanbauer Lease.
This lease agreement is similar to past lease agreements that we've had with the Fraternal Order of Eagles. This group has been running the concessions at this facility for quite a number of years. If you take a look at the lease agreement that we have included, on the length of the contract, you'll see that it's really only going to be for about 4 months this year. And the reason for that is the restroom facility at Spanbauer is the one that will be renovated at the end of summer. We wanted to get the youth programs through the summer months, and then after their season concludes later in July, in August, we'll start the demo and then renovation for that facility so that it's back up and running the following spring. So it's a shorter lease period. Their lease payment was reduced and reflected in that shortened lease. We have shared this draft agreement with the Eagles Club, and they are in agreement to go ahead with operating concessions again this year. Because this is a lease document between the city and the organization, it would require a recommendation for approval from this board to the Common Council and would be placed on a future council agenda for their approval then.
Any questions?
Ray, do we know how long at all? How long they've been providing concessions? Do we have a general idea?
I have not gone back and looked, but because you and I were talking about this, it's my guess is it's been well over 20 years.
Ever since I can remember, they've been
Sure.
over there.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there similar? Do we have similar arrangements at any of our other ball diamonds?
We did previously at the Reeds Diamonds. The Boys and Girls Club operated those facilities for a number of years, and then due to not being able to recruit volunteers to continue that, we're going on about 5 years probably, Jenny, that our department took that over.
5 or 6, yeah.
Because we tried to find another organization that might have an interest in doing so, couldn't locate one, so then Jenny and our staff, we took on that operation roughly. And then at Red Arrow, we do have the YMCA who operates most of the leagues over there. They also have a lease agreement with us for that concession area as well.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Sure.
I'll motion to recommend the contract.
Second.
Bartelt?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Gareth?
Aye.
Hudak?
Aye.
Metz?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Millet?
Aye.
Peschel?
Aye.
Motion pass 8.
All right, well, next thing up is Phase 1 of Lakeshore Master Plan.
I wanted to bring this item forward, even though, as you're aware, the master plan for Lakeshore was approved. This board recommended approval to the Plan Commission. Plan Commission ultimately recommended to the council, and the council did approve the plan. At your tables this evening, you should have your bound hard copy, so you have the final version of that document. Before I went ahead and started working on an RFP to hire an architect engineering firm to start working on some of the elements, wanted to bring it back, just refresh everybody's memory on phase 1 of the document or phase 1 of the project, make sure we're going in the right direction based on our expectations. So what I tried to do based on staff's opinion, you take a look at, it's in your document, but you had the information in your packet. Page 38 really starts with the phasing of the development of Lakeshore. And as we took a look at it, as I put in my memo, we really thought that, and we talked about this during the process, I think that we needed to have something out at Lakeshore that, whether it's a wow factor or something that the community would see and be able to utilize, instead of just doing parking on both sides of the park. We had talked about this 4-season building that has been in the plan and really felt that really needs to be the focus of our initial kickoff of construction. So if you take a look at the 4-season building, there's areas around that facility that would need to kind of work in conjunction. So we've got the terrace area around the 4-season building. There's a public plaza is what it's being called around there. The splash pad is one I think we can plan for, but unless we start looking at some donations and some other contributions for that, that's something that can be added in the future. But we would need the parking areas, the east parking drop-off, Pinelqua cul-de-sac. But I didn't want to forget about the on-street parking at Rainbow Memorial Park as well. If you recall, we really talked about that being dual purpose, not only helping out with the Lakeshore, getting people access to the river walk down there, but also helping with some of the parking for the newly renovated ball field at Rainbow. So we have, through the CIP budget, the remainder of the proceeds from the sale of the property. That's roughly $2 million. It's probably just shy of $2 million, and I'll need to work with our finance director once our operating systems are up and running to find out what that final total is. But that was what is approved in the CIP, is approximately $2 million. So when you start adding up all of those different pieces of this phase one, you'll see that we're going to be over $2 million in our estimate, and that does not include, as I said, any of the design fees that we would start to undertake. So as part of the process, I think we're going to have to start getting the word out on some potential donations, sponsorships, alternative funding sources that we can start looking at for getting all of these pieces put together. But it's going to be a process. If anybody's worked on some of these projects, getting to a final design of a building could take us a number of months. We start looking at designing the end of the roadway and the parking lot. There's a number of things that need to be taken a look at. So I think the sooner we can get direction from the board and concurrence that you agree with this, we can then start moving forward and working on some of those RFPs. So open any questions or any other thoughts. Like I said, I think that's pretty much when we were putting the document together on some of the priorities that we looked at throughout each of those.
Ray, you know I'm kind of opposed to going out, spending all this money architecturally and planning, and then have the project sit on the shelf for 10 years. So are we going to get an idea of what some of these, what the engineering and the architectural money is going to cost, and go from there before we do anything? Because I don't want to go spend $250,000 and then figure out it's $3 million, and then we got to wait 10 years to raise the money.
As a member of the council, you will see those agreements coming forward. Yes, we need to put it out for request for proposals before we can give you an idea on what the cost will be. We can get a general idea based on the amount of work that's going to be needed out there. But there's a number of things that we need to be concerned about. Is we'll have to have some of the archaeologists and some of those things taken a look at on the site. So there's a number of steps we'll have to look at. So any agreements or any professional services will need to go to the council for approval first.
We don't have a fixed budget number right now or anything for that. I saw it's 35% or something, but
For the design or for
for design, everything, architecture, all that good stuff, engineering.
No, and actually, I think the 35% you're referring to is the contingency because of unknown site conditions and so forth. So
I'm not trying to pin you down. I just want to understand this.
Yep.
So.
No, that's what the 35% reference is.
Okay.
So I do not have, until we would take a look at the square footage of the building, and I know we kind of talk in here, a general idea. Once we get in more to saying we specifically know that the facility would be X square feet, they'll have to take a look at the site conditions, and that's part of what will determine what their cost estimate will be for us. So I can't give you a number right now until I get further into that RFP process.
Right. No, but I understand. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions on any of the pieces of phase one? Anybody want to write a check for pieces of phase one?
So just since we're talking about phase one and it's still probably taking, like Bill said, maybe a couple years to get through, is there any idea of what the following year's budget or the following year's budget would be to be able to move forward and have an actual plan this year, next year, the following year as part of that?
Yeah, what we'll be doing is the city, we work on our capital improvement plan. We start already in April for the following 5-year cycle, basically. So now that we know what the plan is, we'll be able to start to request some funding in the CIP. But as you know, it's a large request for the entire, each phase is a huge request. So we're gonna have to really take a look at alternative funding. probably start looking at some conversations with the Community Foundation to see if there's some kind of partnerships we can do and some potential funders out there. I think the building has good potential for some donations for certain rooms, just like you see at, for the YMCA example, and some other buildings throughout the community, some naming rights and some of those donorships. So back to your question, you'll definitely start seeing in our CIP as we bring it forward to this board. Typically that's around May, I think, because we normally work at May and June for approval for this board. You'll start seeing some of these pieces falling into the CIP then.
Could some of the fundraising possibly come from, like, the beer gardens we talked about? Like, if we, I don't know, I can't remember exactly what we talked about last meeting about the idea of the beer gardens and fundraising, but just an idea of, like, awareness and kind of get an idea out for the dollar amount.
I think we can use the beer gardens as a good way to, put the plans out there, let people know what's going on, and let them know what some of the project costs are, and maybe raise some awareness.
Yeah.
As far as the funds from the beer garden, one of the reasons we're doing the beer gardens there is to help offset some of the deficit of the concession area and amusement area at this point, try to get
Right.
those back.
For sure.
But it's definitely a good way we can start some of the awareness to the community on, these are some of the projects going on. So I don't need an official approval or recommendation, but if everybody's comfortable, then what I'll start doing is working with our purchasing and engineering and start to put together some proposals to at least start moving in this direction. Good shake of the heads.
Yep.
So, kind of like how this was created, we kind of got like a couple different cracks at it. Are we gonna get like an assemblage of designs for the Four Seasons building, or are we? Okay.
Yeah, I would expect, once we get into that design phase, you'll be heavily involved in that. Once
Okay.
we get to that point of the hiring and initial design.
Sure.
Yeah. I would expect we'll come in with 2 or 3 possible different designs to start at least working from.
Okay.
So Smith Group showed us some different buildings from things they've done, so are they gonna help with that too?
They might be a firm that might be interested in, contributing, or not contributing, but responding to our request for proposals.
Okay,
So they'd have to go through the process of
Okay.
being chosen. But yeah, they have voiced a interest in moving forward with some of our projects as well.
And then in this process, the four-season room is kind of like number one that you kind of want to tackle first, correct?
That's our opinion, and I think as we went through the process, I think that was kind of the wow factor that we thought the community would be looking for. So then we'd start working out, obviously the plaza area and the parking all need to kind of fall in place as well, so.
And pick and choose with what you can get funded along the way, correct?
Correct.
well,
Yeah.
if you do the Four-Season room, can't you start renting it out and then get the money from that to fund the rest of the stuff?
Well, in order to rent it out, we'd need the parking and all
Right.
so, I think that's really the focus at this point, is come up with what that's going to cost, and then we'll be able to back some of those costs out of what our budget is. But at the same time, I really know we're gonna have to work on some donations and some other donations from the community and
And
Other
that's
entities.
that's your largest cost in phase one. And I don't, just doing the rough in my head, 1.25 million, 500 square feet, we're looking at like a 2,500 square foot building.
Yeah, that's what was proposed throughout the design process, because that would accommodate the 125 to 150 people roughly, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And it really comes down to, a lot of the architectural components of the building. I think, and we've seen this from the restroom facility at Mary Jewel Park, that we know the Plan Commission and the Common Council will want to see something nicer in that area because of the standards they placed on Oshkosh Avenue and all the facilities that are going along Oshkosh Avenue along with Oshkosh Corporation. So, some of those design standards may push that cost a little higher, but
Right.
it's definitely a starting point for us, and we'll have to keep that in mind as this board looks at the design.
And as Bob said, we'd see different designs coming through the process, just because from what it reads here, it's like one large room, 4 bathrooms, but it's never been like a kitchen area or anything like that
I just-
in design thought or process through it all.
Yeah, we would have some kind of a kitchen facility in there.
Okay.
It may not be all detailed here. Again, this
Right.
is
That's-
really,
yeah.
this is the 30,000 foot view, and now we're going to start focusing in on some of these specific aspects. But yeah, we would, just like any other, the restroom buildings that we bring forward, as well as, I see this really being a part of this board's input on some different options on what you'd like to see there.
Is there gonna be any space for like an outfitter at all, kayaks, canoes? Or is that something that we might think about contracting out, with a company to, set up down by the down by the river and stuff?
I don't, I'm not going to say it can't be part of this, but I don't think initially it was
Okay.
thought of here, but there's definitely an opportunity. We can, have that discussion as we're going through the design process, if that adds cost or not and what we'd have to incorporate for that. But I think there's some opportunities to look at, again, whether it's an outfitter or something we try to take on, as far as some rentals go. That's something long-term
Sure.
throughout the entire process.
Okay. And
Tiki
during-
bar, Bob.
That's for you,
Mainly.
Bill. And so, simultaneous as this is going on, there's gonna be other factors that are gonna be put into place, like the river walk is gonna continue to be put in. That's being done even now as we speak, and so, okay.
Yeah, and I think, there's some different ways we can maybe look at, to take a look at page 39, to not forget about the on-street parking that we talked about at Rainbow Memorial Park. The estimate here is about $16,000. I think there might be a way we can possibly work in-house to get maybe some of that project completed with our streets division. They do some other paving for us, so I think there's some ways we can look at getting a few of these items done. The larger items obviously will need to be contracted out. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So Riverwalk, do we have an ETA of when that portion's gonna be done?
I know that it was, the work ended because of the bridges not being manufactured yet. They are being manufactured. I'd have to get an update from Alan Davis and his staff. But the big thing was the weather conditions. So same thing with the spring, it's gonna be weather related when they can get into the site. My expectation is that it'll be done late spring, early summer, I'm sorry. Could be with the weather conditions. But again, it's all weather related. As this board knows, we've got projects that have been delayed almost a year and a half because of the wet springs and wet falls. So it's really, I think the goal is to have it completed by June is what my understanding was.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, it is completed up to, it would be the west end of essentially Oshkosh Corp's property. And then just going from there to I-41 is the section that, because the two bridges are in that section, need to be completed.
Okay,
So yes, that work will continue outside of this piece of project.
okay.
I'm going to take that as the consensus. We can move forward with those top 5 items at this point, and we'll definitely be, gathering your input on some of those designs.
Good to get started.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Ray, you're up again. Staff report.
It's going to be brief. You're going to see on our future agendas that you'll have an idea on what we're going to be updating on. It's just in case there's questions by the community, they know in advance what we're going to be talking about. But really, the only item that I want to report on tonight is the update on Congress Avenue tot lot play equipment replacement. That's a project that was not funded from the Parks Department CIP, but the council did allocate funds through the Oshkosh Healthy Neighborhoods program, where the Congress Tot Lot Neighborhood Association applied for grants through some of that funding. That was already approved by the council last year. I have been working with the Neighborhood Association, and I expect that RFP will be going out hopefully this week for the playground equipment. We held off, even though the council approved it, I believe, late last summer. The Congress Avenue Neighborhood Association is where the Rock the Block event will be taking place this year. So we've been working with the Healthy Neighborhoods Organization and the neighborhood group. They wanted to make this as part of that project. So it'll be in second week of May, I believe, is Rock the Block this year. So what we're going to be doing is trying to get the old equipment and the fence that is currently there, getting that removed so that, again, weather dependent, we can start having the new equipment installed during their Rock the Block and be a part of the reformation and some of the great things going on during the Rock the Block program. So that's where we're at. I would expect, hopefully, like I said, with the computer situation going on, that we'll be able to get that RFP out. And then typically it's about a month before we get the proposals back. Once we get the proposals for the play equipment, we meet directly with the neighborhood group and let them help us narrow down and pick their final choice. So once we get to that point, we take it to the council for approval. So that will get us all the way into April, where we'll start, the removal. And as I said, there was funds not only for the playground equipment, but to replace the fence over at the site as well. So that whole little playground is going to be transformed during this process. That is all I have.
Very nice, thank you. Jenny?
Okay, so just giving you guys, so we're trying to do, add some more winter events as we go through the years here, and our only facility really we can host inside events is the senior center right now. So hopefully someday we'll have some other places to do that. But so we had a family fun day in January. We had some of the zoo education animals over there. So they brought the skunks, pork and bean. They're really chunky, and they brought Kiana, our blue macaw, and our Russian tortoises. And then we had a cookie frosting. The kids could decorate, like a Christmas cookie type winter. We had different stations and games and crafts, slime station, and just kind of fun, different games and things. We had over 200 people that day, so it was really great. And it was a sponsored event by Cellcom, so it, again, didn't cost anything to have the event, and it was free for the community to come. So people really liked it. They thought it was really, really nice, and they really enjoyed seeing the animals in the winter months, kind of out of the zoo element. So that was a great turnout. We were hoping it would be good, but I didn't quite think it would be that good. We had got some snow the night before, late, because I was shoveling the walks coming into the door because we weren't expecting snow. But even with that, the turnout was really good. So people were very happy. So our next coming event is this Saturday. We're doing a Let's Glow Crazy dance party, which is actually also sponsored by Cellcom. So we have all kind of fun stuff for the kids. We're doing kind of like a Halloween-related theme. We have a DJ coming, and we're going to do, the traditional, just lost my thought, limbo. That's the limbo, and hula hoop games, and we have different giveaways for them, glow necklaces and sunglasses and a bunch of fun stuff. So Domino's is actually donating pizza for that event, so we'll have pizza and soda and different fun old school games, kind of like at the roller rink. So it should be fun. Lots of people have been calling to register for that one, so that's this Saturday. So hopefully we have good weather, and I think we'll have a good turnout for that one as well. And then just kind of an update, if you guys as a board get questions, there's a new website that just rolled out in January, and it's called Volunteer Oshkosh, and it's a place where we can go in and list every single event we have, whether it be at the zoo or the pool or the leach or wherever, whatever event we need volunteers for. It certainly doesn't take the place of kind of begging for volunteers and searching them out, but it's a hub where everybody, if someone's looking to volunteer, they can do it in there, and then we can keep track of how many volunteers we have. And they also have an email option that you can email them to let them know, like, don't forget about the event, here's what you should wear, here's where you should park, all those things. So I think as people know more about it, and they get a lot of calls, different places get a lot of calls, and everyone's directing them to that site. So I'm hoping that people will use that site and hopefully volunteer for some of our events. And like I said, it's still going to take a lot of work and getting things out and letting people know about our events and asking for help, but just then referring people to that site to actually sign up. So if you ever run into someone who's looking for different opportunities, I think I'm through July on there now. I have everything entered in through July. So that's a good place to go look and see what we have going on for volunteer opportunities as well.
Is there an age limit for the volunteers?
So we have in there from 14 to 101.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wide range.
You can make it. You're in
Yeah.
there.
I'm just thinking like the schools, Lord specifically, we some of the stuff I do, we send all volunteer requests because their students need a ton of volunteer hours. Did
Yep.
you hit up like school counselors and send it to them?
We do. We reach out to kind of all the schools. We even get, we have lots of volunteers that come from Emerald, like the Key Clubs and different things. So we do, and that's what I was saying, this doesn't take the place of getting all those emails and
Right.
contacts out. So there's a couple different groups at North, that we use. That communities group is really nice and helpful for us. So every school, we kind of have 3 or 4 different sources of clubs that we use, be it Northwest, Emerald, Lourdes. But again, we're always reaching out, always looking. And the university, we have some good contacts there too, and we get some help from there. It just, we have a lot of events, and, some of the events are really big, so we need a lot of volunteers. But hopefully it's a place that, when people call asking what they can do, whether they, call different places, they can say, oh, go to this website, and you can find all the opportunities available, so. Yeah, so just want to let you guys know about that one.
Great.
Amy, if I could, just real quickly, on the 2 items Jenny reported on A and B, I think the board hopefully all knows, but the senior center is a division under the Parks Department since about 2012, I think. And what really that gives us an opportunity is for Jenny to do some programming at the senior center, although it's, during the business hour, it is senior center, but it allows us to do some community programming there on some evenings and weekends. And the senior center enjoys it as well because we're getting younger families in there with kids, but they're also bringing grandpas and grandmas, or they're bringing mom and dad, and they can see things that their mom and dad might be interested in the senior center. So it's really a cross-promoting, not only getting people to the program, but getting them to see the senior center and some of the good opportunities that we can offer grandpa and grandma or mom and dad at the senior center. So it's really another marketing ploy for us to be able to use too. So
Yeah, and that really is true. At the Family Fun Day, we had lots of, grandparents that brought the kids down because they're at the center and they know the center, so then they brought the grandkids down. Last year in March, when we did the bingo event, and we talked about actually having a senior center person there this year because my office is just there, so I don't know all the ins and outs of their programs. But, we had a bunch of people last year at bingo asking for brochures and asking for information and, how to be involved in the senior center. So we really try to think of things that would kind of be good for all, all ages and things. And the grandparents have really been, a lot of them that made comments last month were grandparents that were down there with their kids. So that was great to see too, for the grandkids.
Very nice. Any other reports from the staff? All right. Any other business?
if I can just talk about the next meeting real quick. You can see on the agenda, April 13th, the state of the city, if you want to put it in your calendar, is the second Monday of March. Is it March 10th, 9th?
March 9th.
March 9th is the state of the city. So if you can plan to be there, you should plan to do so. I think it's a really good opportunity to see what the other city departments are doing. There's community partnership awards that are given out. So for that reason, the second Monday is taken by us being there. And then there's the first Monday and third Monday, there are already city meetings going on. So we really don't have an available Monday. If something would come up where we need to call a special meeting, we'll reach out and try to get some possible dates for you. But at this point, I really don't see anything pressing, and we'll just plan for the April 13th meeting at this point.
Thank you. If that's it, then
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Second. Damn it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.